this station, its staff, management, or sponsors.
It's time for Sex Talk with the Seigel Brothers. Dr. Ricky Seigel is a certified sex therapist, educator, and supervisor, and his brother Larry Seigel is a clinical sexologist and certified sexuality educator. The Seigel Brothers are here to answer all your questions about sex and sexuality, but we're unsure who to ask, including questions you didn't even know you had. They will also welcome guests from around the globe to talk about a wide variety of topics and issues within the fascinating world of sexuality. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to Sex Talk.
Good evening, and welcome to Sex Talk with the Seigel Brothers. My name is Richard Seigel. I'm a certified sex therapist.
And I'm Larry Seigel, a clinical sexologist and certified sexuality educator.
Doing our part for social distancing and doing our first broadcast away from the studio.
Yes.
So we hope you are well. If you're listening on the radio in South Florida on 95.3 FM, 96.3 FM, and 470 and 1470 AM, or if you're joining us on Facebook, that's a great way to stay socially connected if physically distant. Hello.
Hey, hello. Glad
Thank
you could join us.
Joining us, and please feel free to hit the like and share buttons liberally and let your friends know that you're listening to Sex Talk.
That's right. That's right.
A weekly opportunity to get together and talk about 1,001 things that are important to talk about that people just don't talk about, that contribute to our ongoing sexual health problems in this country.
Yes, indeed. And hopefully you can hear us okay. Hopefully you're able to see us okay. Technology is not our best friend, at least mine. So hopefully everything is going to be going okay, and as we make the adjustments that we need to make. And by the way, I realize I just touched my face. I did just wash my hands right before I came on, so I am touching my face.
Right up in the corner of the screen, we should have a little counter how many times we touch our faces.
It's one of those things that people don't realize how often they do. You know, it's such an unconscious thing for most of us. And I see people out in public with gloves and masks, and it seems the people that are wearing gloves tend to touch their face more. People that wear masks.
People that are wearing masks.
Touch their face more.
I just did now. Remember that from my undergraduate days, the toxicology seminar, the faculty talked about this the incoming class at the medical school, and something they did to the new med students to prove a point about infectious diseases. That first thing in the morning of an all-day orientation, they went down the receiving line and shook hands with all the faculty, and they had put some chemical on their hand at 9 o'clock in the morning. And 4 o'clock in the afternoon, they put on black lights. And everyone was just absolutely covered from a whole day of touching and picking and wiping and just glowing from that handshake in the morning.
Right. And it's not only the people that made that immediate contact. I mean, how much of that was all around the campus? People that had nothing to do with that class.
Yeah, just
were glowing.
Yeah.
You know, we used to do similar things in the beginning of HIV as well. And it was part of that lesson that, you're not just having sex with the person you're having sex with. You're you're sleeping with all the people they've ever slept with, which is a little hyperbolic, but the point needs to be well taken.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Especially now, and that's, again, keeping with the social distancing and all that kind of stuff.
It's a crazy time, and we assume everyone is adjusting to the new normal, which is kind of crazy.
That's right.
So all of us nuts are ahead of the curve.
Yes, indeed.
We're nothing if not adaptable, and people have to really understand, as we were talking about last week, that it's not a time for panic. It's a time for unity and social responsibility.
And cooperation.
People are doing this to, protect themselves, but especially young, healthy people, more so to protect people who are not young and healthy, and to keep this from being like a tsunami that just completely overtakes every hospital in every city in the country. Then we're really doomed. Then a young, healthy person, God forbid, gets into an accident, and there's no hospital, there's no ER to go to because they're all quarantined.
Right.
from packed beds in the hallways and ventilators rigged like it's World War II. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's the nightmare scenario. People are already talking about the hordes of corona-infected, brain-eating zombies, and they're stocking with toilet paper their bunkers and bomb shelters. We just need to grow up and understand we have a serious health crisis, and we all need to do our part. Take lessons from those places in the world that are doing it right, that have a completely flat infection curve. And someplace I read in Singapore, they had like 270 cases and no deaths.
Right.
In one of the most densely populated cities in the world. So it's possible. We need to work together and do it.
And this is going to take a little time, so we also have to be patient.
And, of course, one of the most important things is how do we make the most of being locked down. Some of us are in states. We're coming here from sunny South Florida. I suspect it's only a matter of time before we get the same kind of orders as Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and New York, and Connecticut, and all these states where they're saying, you've got to stay home. And, of course, it's a tremendous impact, especially for people who work hourly, who if they don't work, they don't get paid.
Right.
Having all the schools closed, some of them for the rest of the year in some places. So now the kids are home. Online school, that'll hold their attention, as and it's a great time for more happier thoughts and sex talk.
Right.
And ways for couples and to really amp up the creativity and find ways to deal with what ultimately is a long-term, slow-moving, shared crisis.
Exactly. Now, on that very note, right, speaking of it, I'm glad you brought it up in that exact way, slow-moving, long-time crisis. I would just like to share with everybody that yesterday, this guy had a birthday. So I would like everybody to share in wishing him a happy birthday.
Yeah, whoop-de-doo.
Now, well, you've officially been kind of old for a while now. So congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Do you want to tell everybody how old you are?
No. Well, 3 years younger than you.
Well,
who on Monday will be 60.
No, that's not true.
No?
No, Tuesday.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very young and dashing and charming 60 you are.
Oh, well, okay. Well, I thank you.
Yes.
And I'm glad that comes from my brother, and,
And did you see on Facebook, I thanked Mom and Dad for 57 years and 9 months ago, combining their DNA to make me.
That's right.
And
that's right. See, isn't it amazing what 23 pairs of chromosomes can do?
Yeah, sure is. I had that thought many times in airports.
I have that thought every time I go in Walmart.
Oh, what 46 chromosomes can do. Oh,
yes.
Wow.
Walmart is the best place in the world to see what 23 pairs can do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. So, there's a lot of things, of course, flooding on best ways to deal with the crisis, with being locked down, or however it's put.
Sheltering
in. Yeah, I like
self-isolation.
I heard something nice today. Physical distancing, but not social distancing.
Right.
And it's again, how thankful are we to have the technology that we can still stay socially connected, even though we have to practice physical distancing in the public square. Now, it's been a long time now. We should be used to this. The Internet has been the public square for the better part of going on 3 decades. And it's the reality of life. More and more people are going to have to get used to communicating this way. But, for years, more and more people have, especially younger people.
For some people, it's not really a stretch.
One of the real old fart things that just blows our minds is this, starting with millennials and especially now with Gen Zers, the 15, 16, 17-year-olds that are in no rush to get their driver's license. Like, oh, my God, that was the only license to freedom. that we had, because there was no other way to be connected, to pull the umbilical cord and leave the house, except hanging out with your neighborhood friends.
Right.
Or
starting at 14, 15.
As far as you could ride your bike.
Right. You'd be pining away for that moment, that time,
sure,
where you can get your learner's permit, and then even more to get your driver's license. But it really was about moving out, about mobility. And not for nothing, but that was a major, major change in American society. If you really think about one of the biggest changes in the history of America, one of the biggest changes related to sex. This is kind of like that 2,000-year-old man, greatest invention, saran wrap. One of the greatest inventions for sex, and what changed the landscape of sexual behavior and relationships more than anybody could have ever thought, was the car.
Particularly the back seat of the car.
Right. But the car itself was the first opportunity people could get out of the house to go somewhere.
The first mobile bed.
That's right.
Right? The first place you can have sex that wasn't in your house with your parents downstairs, or going to some seedy motel somewhere, or right? That was freedom.
Exactly.
Mobile privacy. Everybody knows the stereotype of the motorcycle cop banging on the steamed up windows, right, from the 40s and 50s. That was
40s or 50s or last winter. It still but that was a huge change, and look at how easily we adapted to that.
Right. So again, adapting for current circumstances. Why was, if parents are feeling cooped up with the kids around, and I've been hearing this a lot from a lot of therapists, from a lot of patients, that a lot of kids, when they get stir crazy, start to get real lovey-dovey and clingy and huggy and grabby, and seem like they're demanding even more of the parents' time. And couples feel, just completely swarmed all the time, that they can never get any time alone. How about prescribing a drive? That not with the kids,
right?
Just the couple, go for a drive. Maybe even find a secluded private place where you won't get arrested to make out in the backseat. But just get some marriage, some relationship time.
Now, let's take a step back for context with some of this. Now, obviously, with all of this going on that everybody has been participating in and keeping that physical social distance, we do want to keep that recommendation up. But people also need to understand that we're not being so sequestered that we can't go outside. Right. So this is
fresh air is good for you.
But I want to say that we've heard a lot of people, and we were among those people that over the last several weeks have been talking about using this time, doing more things while you're in the house. It's easy to say for couples in particular, use this time, experiment, play around, make it intimate time, making it sexual time. All of that kind of stuff is great, except when there are real issues to contend with. Not everybody can see this as liberating or as something that they can, kind of use as their free time.
Right.
As you're kind of describing, there are a lot of families that are sheltering in that have a lot of kids. How do you, as parents, even under the best of circumstances, make time for yourself, make that intimate time for yourself when you have these kids in such close quarters? But another issue that nobody's really talking about is, how do you manage this time inside if you're in a relationship that's not going very well? If there is a lot of anger and a lot of resentment, right? How do you get through this time when you're kind of, quote, locked in with somebody that you're not having a very good relationship with right now? Right? And these are a lot of, there's been some talk about how does isolating and this sort of physical social distancing affect people that already have mental health issues, right? Depression, anxiety, PTSD. But nobody's really talking about relationship issues Right? You're locked in here with your partner.
Yeah. What if you just got laid off from very convenient opposite schedule jobs where the kind of ships passing in the night and thought you had a great relationship because one worked nights and one worked days.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're all locked down together. That could be a whole new getting to know each other again, or it could be like, we're not so crazy about each other after all.
And, there's a parallel there to what a lot of couples go through with retirement.
Yeah.
Because when people go through so much of their married life.
After 18 years of distraction?
Now, empty nest, I think a lot of these people wish they were in empty nesters. Because now, especially all that married life, or at least the bulk of it, where you don't see each other for 8, 10, 12 hours a day. Now you're with them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
There's nowhere to go. You can't even say, hey, I'm just going to run out for a while, because the options are pretty limited with that as well.
I think most couples therapists would agree that some of the toughest couples to work with are couples that own businesses together, that own a restaurant, and they are literally 24/7 together without ever getting a break, and it's a huge strain, especially when the roles. How do you have to be able to change roles from coworkers to business partners to lovers and parents. That's a lot of hat changing, and that can be a huge strain.
Right. So when you have couples in therapy that are dealing with these kinds of issues, especially that space and that time spent together, granted the context may be a little bit different, but what are the kinds of things that you would say to them?
Well, in the ideal, there's some opportunity to plan for time apart, for time out with friends. That a lot of couples struggle with his friends, her friends, their friends, shared friends. But sometimes there is just no choice, whether it's financial or childcare or running a business, and it's always pushing the creativity of how can you find a way, even if you're stuck in the same house. Are there different rooms that you can have some solace? Can you lock yourself in the bathtub without your phone and without a tablet and disconnect and have a private, a luxurious bath, a little mini vacation even for 20 minutes?
Absolutely. And, it's something that I've mentioned to people for many, many years, even at work, as just a way of stealing a little bit of time and peace and quiet to yourself. Toilets are wonderful places for that. First of all, you have a seat. So you don't have to stand that whole time, so you can be comfortable. Just going to the bathroom, just sitting in there for 10 minutes. This idea of trying to find space, trying to create the opportunity for a little peace of mind. We have to kind of go out of our way sometimes to do that.
Right.
And if we are in this kind of situation where, like you said, we can't really plan for it, I think that's something that, go sit in the bathroom for 10 minutes. Take a bath, just sit there quietly. Whatever you need to do, use that space and time for yourself.
It just occurs to me, and just total sidebar, but as long as it comes up, even couples where it ain't working out, but they feel mostly economically, they're kind of stuck, like they can't move out, they can't afford an apartment, but they're done. There are ways that couples can separate under the same roof.
Sure.
And not want to kill each other in their sleep.
But see, now again, bringing this into that kind of little context that we were talking about here, it's easier to do that when you're both working. You're both out of the house during the day. So now you have these couples that are separating under the same roof, but now maybe neither one of them are working, and now they are in the house together all the time. Right? So this leads me to this idea that, again, not enough people are really talking about. It's easier sometimes to tell people what kinds of things they can do while they're in the house, like we kind of have been doing, whether that is, using the yard, going outside. I think surrounding yourself with flowers, making, the internal environment as nice and comfortable as it can be. But I think one of the things we're really kind of referring to right now or alluding to is this idea that people aren't really looking for what they can do together. They're often looking for ways that they can be together. How can they be together in these kind of environments? So how can people use this opportunity, right, even if they don't look at it as an opportunity, to be together with each other in a way that is positive and healthy and effective so that they don't kill each other?
Yeah. Could be something, more basic life logistics things like remodeling or even cleaning up the house, or it could be dedicating new creative time and energy to spicing up the intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
And, there's hundreds of these books, and certainly can never lay claim to having read a pile of them out of the hundreds. Most of them tend to ring kind of supermarket magazine rack, the 60 great positions that'll blow your partner's mind and save your marriage,
Right.
and or they're, ways of improving romance, and those sometimes goofy things that they always used to sell on the back of Spencer Gifts. Are there still Spencer Gifts?
There are still Spencer Gifts.
Yeah. But this came highly recommended in a supervision group with a bunch of wonderful therapists. 101 Nights of Great Sex, Secret Sealed Seductions for Fun-Loving Couples by Laura Korn. We'll have to see if we can get Ms. Korn on the show.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just, it's described as not a book you read, but a book that you do, where it's definitely got a heterosexist slant, but it's kind of like there's pages that are sealed and perforated. And one is marked for her eyes only, and the other is marked for his eyes only. And at the beginning of the day, they tear them out. And so it's really just like a lot of sex therapy. It's about feeding that anticipation. It's about bringing back the mystery. It's about, I know something you don't know, and you're going to get a treat tonight, and you're going to spend the whole day wondering what it's going to be. And, it's bringing that sexy back to what are often domesticated, unsexy relationships, especially now that it's all piled on with the kids and the domesticity on steroids.
Exactly.
With hoarding toilet paper.
Right.
Not very sexy.
No, not at all. Not at all.
And, that question, too, of course, we could say we have our bias because we talk about sex for a living. But people say, they're worried about getting sick. They're worried about their family getting sick. They're panicking. Mm-hmm. They're worried about finances, all, with some with better reason than others. But still, with all this worry, who's feeling sexy? Who has time for this? This is silly, right? What better stress reliever can you think of? What better way of calming each other and being a united front against anxiety and stress and this craziness that is going to be with us for a long, long time to come?
Exactly. And let me kind of sort of bring that point you just made as kind of the cap on a lot of what we were saying here. That using this time of being indoors, being in our own places, being together, good relationships are intentional. And if you just intentionally use this time to make each other feel good, if you have an agreement that when you wake up this morning, even though you're walking around in the same house or the same apartment, but you can make a decision that you're going to do something today that's going to surprise your partner. Right? You're going to use this opportunity, even if you're not getting along very well, but you can still use this opportunity to be with each other in a way that's different than what you're used to.
And I just want to get this in before we run out of time. Even for the unpartnered, in today's news, the city of New York City health officials say you are your safest sex partner during the coronavirus pandemic. And no one's left out.
Right. So I would also recommend, look up Betty Dodson and some of her work. Sex with yourself, loving yourself. You don't need a partner. Treat yourself to make it.
And we will be back for more next Monday at 7 for Sex Talk. Mr. Seigel.
Stay well, stay smart, stay hard.
You've been listening to Sex Talk with the Seigel Brothers. Join us on WNN 1470 AM and 95.3 FM, or watch live streaming video at AMP2 TV Productions on Facebook, or look for the shows on YouTube. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you'll join us again next week.